Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now in today's video, I'll look at the Alto TR1 solo tent from the company Summit. Now this here, a very nice, well-equipped and lightweight option coming in under 3 pounds, right around 2 pounds, 11 ounces, and that's with all the packaging. So if you wanted to strip this down and get this to a very nice lightweight kit for your backpacking excursions, this would be a fantastic way to go. Now at this point, I have used this. I've already taken it out of the package, I've already put it to good field use, and I definitely have some impressions. So what we're gonna do today, we're gonna go through the setup footage so I can show you how it went to set this up. It's not difficult, it's just a little bit tricky. So some tips and tricks and things to think about if you're interested in this Alto TR1. I'll talk to you about my sleep impressions, how it was to use this, and then we'll come back to the studio and I'll give you my final thoughts. And so with that said, I have a whole bunch to do and a whole bunch to share with you. And if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. Now before we get too far, I would like to say thank you very much to the people at Summit who did provide this for review. And if you like what you see here today, do me a favor, take a look in the description box below where you can find all the relevant details, where you can get one of these Alto TR1s for yourself. Whenever you use the links below, it does help out my channel. So not only are you getting yourself a great deal on some awesome gear, but you're helping me out here. And if you are a fan of Outer Limitless, I greatly appreciate your support. And so now as we get into the setup with the Alto TR1, keep in mind the fact that there's also a TR2 version. So the 1 being the 1-person version and the 2 being the 2-person version. Now I would go as far as to say a 2-person tent is generally not really large enough for 2 people. So a 1-person tent, well, typically that would be pretty tight. However, with the TR1, a nice size, good overall vertical walls, which gives you ample room, ample shoulder room, ample height, and a quality space. You'll see by the end of this a beautifully sized and wonderfully shaped tent. So as we get into the setup here, there are a number of different ways this can be set up. You can go with everything from a very simple setup to one that's pretty much a standalone freestanding tent. You can go with the mesh only, a partial fly mode, but in today's case, I'm gonna do the full setup so you can see how this goes. Now, like any tent, it's a little bit of a learning curve. This isn't difficult, it's just a little bit tricky. Now, there are some features in the Alto TR1 that are absolutely fantastic. Everything from the weight to the overall packability to the quality of both the poles and the stakes, the mesh. Everything about this very nicely made. Now, the one thing you'll notice is I did leverage a separate ground sheet. Not perfect, but it does the job for my needs. The TR standing for the tension ridge tents. So there are a number of TR tents. Again, the tension ridge tents, which this particular setup you'll see again, good overall vertical walls, nice headspace, and the tension ridge poles really doing a nice job to give me some space, even though this is a 1-person tent. As we get through the setup here, pretty standard. There is a single side and a dual side to the poles, so you'll notice pretty much like a triangular shape. You do end up with a number of stakes to help stake out all the corners, and I would have to imagine that if you got the dedicated ground sheet, it would also allow you to stake out the ground sheet at the same time as the corners of the tent. But here, very easy, fairly straightforward, not a heck of a lot to it. Again, this is a semi-freestanding design. Now when it comes to the fly has very simple connectors, nice buckles, the ability to cinch everything down really tight, and you can see a beautiful form factor. This makes a nice vestibule area on both the front and the back of the tent to stash gear. The entry, very simple, good quality zippers and zipper pulls all the way around. Ample venting, that's another great feature for this tent. An extreme amount of venting. Now I have to say I would need to test this in a number of different scenarios, but generally speaking, from what I could tell, an extremely comfortable night's sleep. I greatly enjoyed it. Now if you're not careful, you can miss the fact that there are some pockets built into the corners of the fly to make sure that your poles sit in the appropriate locations. I did miss that at first, but after a simple adjustment, no problem. As we take a look at the inside, again, very spacious for a one-person tent. Now, I have to admit, I don't have a huge amount of experience with one-person tents. However, I have had a little bit of experience, and so far, this seems to be a great overall shape. Nicely featured, has the ability to add additional features on the inside, and this is set up for all the accessories that you can purchase from Sea to Summit that are specific not only for this tent, but other models as well. This does have a number of features that I found to be interesting, like, for example, some vertical stays in strategic locations to help maintain the shape. It's not exactly a full bathtub floor, but it does have a fairly reasonable floor that goes all the way around, aids in a little bit of protection, and should help overall with the general moisture reduction as you spend the night. This has toggles in strategic locations to help manage both the inner mesh as well as the rain fly, so as you have everything pulled back. Pretty standard, not a heck of a lot to it, but at the same time effective, and an ample amount of tiebacks where you need them. As you can see here, a beautiful shape, nice features, simple where it needs to be, not overly built. That helps to reduce the overall weight in general. So the setup, pretty straightforward. Now, what I can tell you is Sea to Summit does have great instructions for all the different setups. So whether or not you're going with the full setup to a more stripped down setup, there are a number of different instructions provided. But it's one thing to get this set up, it's another to enjoy your night's sleep. So now that I have this beautiful scenery and a fantastic tent, this awesome opportunity to get a good night's sleep, well, how did it work out? Generally speaking, a beautiful night. I just happened to get lucky. Just an absolutely gorgeous night, beautiful sunset, wonderful scenery. And again, I'm setting myself up for a wonderful night's sleep. But if the tent can't vent, and if I don't have the right sleep system, all of this is for naught. So all in all, at this particular night, it got down into the high 40s, so a very comfortable temperature, and I definitely had myself a wonderful sleep system. So the tent doing its job. Nice high ceilings. You can see a nice wide spread, giving me plenty of room for my shoulders, plenty of headroom, and the ability to vent wonderfully. The rainfly itself does not sit tight to the mesh. The tension ridge doing a nice job, the poles doing a nice job in creating a pocket of airspace between the mesh and the fly itself. So that did do a wonderful job, and it had a nice ability to breathe. I did not find that there was much in the way at all in terms of condensation buildup, which was awesome. So as I turn the corner here and buckling down for a good quality night's sleep, well, I have myself a beautiful sleep system, an amazing tent, a fantastic location, and hopefully temperatures that will work out for my sleeping needs. Waking up in the morning to a nice even glow. Looking up, you can see again just the nice features of the Alto TR1. No condensation buildup, no overabundance of moisture, and the ability to stay cool and comfortable the entire night. I did find that I slept with the vestibule open, which was awesome. Got a great breeze, nice little ventilation, and the ability just to peek outside, enjoy my scenery, and take a look from time to time. And especially as the sun came up, it was really nice. Now, the light color of this tent will leave an even glow. It's definitely not going to be the easiest to sleep in here as the light comes up. But if you're anything like me, I tend to wake up pretty early on my camping trips anyway, so that's not a big deal. Awesome configuration, wonderful stitching, everything in place, no threads out of place, everything very well done. You can see as you take a look here, plenty of room for me and the ease of getting in and out of the tent, no problem. So as the sun comes up, everybody's beginning and starting their day. Well, the Alto TR1, a fantastic night's sleep. I do have to say the setup was fairly easy, all things considered. An awesome night's sleep, plenty of room, the ability to stash my gear. And well, with that, it's absolutely time to start my day. And so a wonderful job, great design from the people at Sea to Summit. So all right, guys, there you have it. A look at the Sea to Summit Alto TR1. Awesome. Very, very nice. For a super lightweight kit, the ability to get out and having a solo option quite honestly, something that I haven't quite had yet myself personally, have not had the chance to demonstrate on my channel, and I love having something that's this simple, easy, efficient, lightweight, and very comfortable. All things considered, that's the first thing. Plenty of headroom, nice and wide where it matters, and the ability to fairly easily manage my gear. Now, I could see at different times getting a little bit tight, getting a little bit cramped. I always joke, a 3-person tent's barely good for 2, a 2-person tent's barely good for 1, so what good's a 1-person tent? Well, I have to tell you, I had a shelter failure one time, and I actually had to leverage my brother-in-law's 1-person tent with 2 of us in there, and it was very cozy. But this a little bit better than that. Nice and roomy, great features, very, very beautifully constructed. I like the overall features, and the way it went together was fairly simple. Now, as I mentioned, a little bit tricky. That's the first thing. Like any tent and in any situation, it can be a little bit tricky and you don't necessarily know what you're getting into. So for me, this was fantastic. Such an awesome opportunity to practice setting up my tent and my shelter system in a controlled environment. So when I get out into the wilderness, I already have an idea. I already know how it's going to work. I've already proven that the manufacturer has a good sound manufacturing process and there's no deficiencies, no surprises when I get out there, and I'm counting on this the most. So far, very, very good. The Alto TR1 is awesome. And so there will be much more to come with this. It won't be any more real feature videos, but this is going to have cameo appearances throughout the rest of my adventures. So if you're a fan and a supporter of Outer Limitless and you watch my outdoor adventures, you're going to see this from time and time again. And the only other thing that I would say is I definitely need a dedicated footprint for this. The footprint that I had worked out just fine, not a big deal, but having the dedicated footprint just to take the edge off of putting that sort of soft fabric down on the rough surface, having something that's sacrificial so that if it gets dirty or grimy, you're not trashing the tent. I personally really like that. I don't mind adding a little extra bulk or a little added extra weight if it's going to help preserve your equipment for the long run. And so, all right, guys, there you have it. A look at the Summit Alto TR1. I would like to say thank you so much to the people at Summit who did provide this for review. Again, take a look in the description box below where you can get all of the relevant details. Help out the channel. Get yourself some great gear. Just an amazing shelter system. So, all right, guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.